Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are comparing the Megabass Levante 6'8" and the 7'2". Let's get it. So I've got my hands on two Megabass Levante rods that I've been interested in for a while. And the rods are the F4-68LV and the F4-72LV. And in fact, I will put up all the information up here for the 6'8" and all the specifications of the 7'2" over here on this side. Hopefully you can see that while I'm talking at this point. And when it comes to design, these rods are amazing. You've probably seen this rod and looked at the design, and you know that this is just a design that's 1 or 2 bars ahead of everyone else. And I really like these designs for the Levante rods. I mean, everything from the EVA to the blank, the reel seat, the lock for the reel seat here is beautifully designed. And when it comes to the blank above the reel seat, it has this shiny finish, but when you move further along the blank, you will have a matte finish, and the blank is more revealed. Where the rods are joined together, they've put 2 small dots, so you know exactly where to align the rods or the parts, sorry. And small things like that just make this rod, it feels like a premium rod. When I've tried this compared it to, say, an X-Pride, for example, I feel like the X-Pride is 1 step ahead of the Levante rods, but still these are great rods, beautifully designed, sensitive, lightweight, and just great rods altogether. I wanted to make a video about these 2 models because these 2 models are probably the most sold models here in the northern part of Europe and in Scandinavia, 6'8" and the 7'2". And I wanted to compare them because I know that a lot of people are checking a few models out, and maybe they have a budget for 2 rods or 3 rods. So most of you guys, I know that most of you guys, including myself, pick out 1 rod from a lineup. And so I wanted to compare these 2 and see which one I like the most. All right, let's talk about the 6'8", the 1/4 ounce to 3/4 ounce rod. This rod is designed for your light to medium type fishing. It is not your heavy application rod, it's not for your deep cranking, it's not for your heavy jig heads fishing. It's definitely for your lighter type fishing, because it is really designed for that lighter fishing. When it comes to rod action for the 6'8" rod, well, this rod has a regular action. And what that means is basically the whole blank just bends when it loads up. So the midsection is it's quite soft, bends quite a lot. And when it comes to the top section, it actually bends quite a lot up here as well. So that means you have a bend all throughout the whole blank when you get a fish on. And that is a super advantage when you're fishing smaller lures for maybe smaller fish, but it could be a disadvantage if you're fishing a bit heavier lures and also targeting heavier fish, because you still want some backbone then when you do that type of fishing. And I would say that this rod throws 10-gram heads, maybe 15-gram heads, but that's the top, I would say. But heavier than that, it just feels wrong. It's too heavy, it doesn't load properly. But 10-gram heads, somewhere between there, then this rod is a really great rod. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about the 7'2", the 1/4 ounce to 1 ounce rod. This rod is for your medium to heavy type fishing. I would say if you're fishing 15-14 gram jig heads and above, then this rod is for you. If you're fishing deep cranking baits, this rod is for you. If you're fishing shadow baits, spinning baits, again, this rod is for you. The 6'8" rod is just a little bit too light for that type of fishing, because when you're fishing baits that have a lot of resistance in the water, you still want some backbone that you can drive the hooks into the fish, and this rod really does that great. So I love this rod for that type of fishing, especially chatterbaits, spinnerbait, deep crankings, a little bit heavier jig heads as well. The action of this rod is medium fast, the power is medium, and in Megabass language the force is 4. So and it's a 7'2" rod. So comparing it to the 6'8", this is a rod that's a little bit more heavy duty rod for sure, but still because of that medium fast action, it actually bends quite nicely in the midsection. So I really like this rod actually. And when it comes to the tip section, it definitely bends, but it is a little bit faster than the 6'8" rod. And so, like I said, if you're fishing lightweight fishing, then 6'8" rod is better. If you're fishing medium to heavier, then this rod is definitely the rod to go for. And when it comes to choosing between the two rods, I would actually go for the 7'2", the Levante rod, because I feel like this rod can do a little bit more things than the other rod. The reason being is because the action of this rod is so greatly done in that it bends quite well in the midsection and still have a lot of bend in the top section. And that means when you're fishing spinnerbaits, chatterbaits, and a little bit more heavier jigs, then you still have a lot of backbone when you do set that hook and want to drive that fish in. So when it comes down to it, choosing between these rods, I would actually choose the 7'2" medium fast rod. Another thing to note is that the 7'2" handle is a little bit longer than the 6'8". It's not a lot, but it's about an inch longer, and that is something that I actually like, because the 6'8" rod is quite short. So if you're doing jerkbait fishing, then I mean that's great, but the 7'2" rod is not that long, so you can still do that if you want to do that with this rod. I'd say that this is probably a little bit too long rod for jerkbait fishing. So the 7'2" has a longer handle than the 6'8", and I actually think that's an advantage. So in conclusion then, you have two beautifully built rods. They are designed for different techniques and they are designed for different applications. So when you compare them, you have to have that in mind, that the 6'8" for your lighter type fishing, the 7'2" a little bit more heavy fishing, but still you can do a lot with the 7'2" rod, I think. And I mean, that goes for the 6'8" as well, but I'd rather have a little bit backbone left when you're fishing that a little bit more heavy type fishing. Alright, so there we have it, the comparison between the Megabass Levante 7'2" and the 6'8". I hope this video gave you some insights and hopefully gave you some advice into which rod you should go for when you are looking into buying these two rods. And as always, thanks guys for watching, and see you in the next one.